You are here this morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And I have a very special guest this morning. This woman, man, I connected with her years ago. And she's one of those people that, because of our intuitive connection, is just like instant remembrance of like, yep, I know we come from the same place, of that really strong intuitive core. And lo and behold, she's actually doing a lot of intuitive work in the world, similar to myself, around children. And so I really am just excited to bring her on this morning, just with that intention of really all of us getting super connected to our intuitions and really seeing how the children in our lives are just showing up, whether you have your own children or they're other people's children, or if you're like me working in orphanages or maybe school systems or wherever you're at, how these kids are popping up and how we can support them and also support ourselves. So, Devani, Freeman, without any further ado, let me introduce you. Would you like to just let everybody know more of who you are and how you got started in this work?
Yeah, hello. My name is Devani Freeman. So great to be here. And goodness, where do I want to start with my story? So, during this time, I run a social media and Facebook advertising agency, helping a lot of spiritual leaders and conscious coaches. And I also co-founded a company called The Liberated Child, which helps mamas and papas to pave a different path for their child in regards to homeschooling or unschooling, and helping them to step outside of the system and to create something that truly allows their family to thrive. And I would say how I got to where I'm doing now is following my intuition, following the breadcrumbs. I got into marketing in my mid-20s. Before that, I was a hairstylist. I had no marketing degree, no schooling with marketing, didn't know anything about it. But what I had was a calling from my soul. I had this drive within me that was so deep, that just knew that I was cut out for something different and something more. And I had a client that I did her hair, and she's like, we have this job opening at this marketing agency that I'm working for, and I bet I could get you a job there, because she knew that I was wanting to get into something else. And so they hired me because I did not take no for an answer after I got interviewed. And I stalked the man that interviewed me, and I was like, I will be your hardest worker. I know I don't have any experience, but just take a chance on me. And he did. And so I learned so much in that process. I grew personally, like in such a big way. There's such a growth that happens when you're starting something new, and especially I'd say doing things like cold calling, like really scary things that are intense. You're like, what? I'm doing what? I'm calling and I'm selling people on something. But sales, marketing is like some of the biggest skill sets you can have in life. And so that led me to eventually realizing I wasn't cut out for corporate America. I did not fit in with that mentality. And I then started my own company after that. And that's where I landed then, following the rabbit trail on working with conscious leaders and coaches, and working in that space of people that I feel like are doing big, impactful work to help us awaken in this lifetime. And then the calling of starting the Liberated Child happened. It's been in the works for a couple of years, and came through last year during the pandemic, of seeing hundreds and thousands of families suddenly having to school their children at home, and taking a look and actually asking, wait, is really what children are learning in school the best way, and also the best curriculum to raise liberated, wise, curious, successful children in this day and age? And learning about how our school education is based on the industrial model, outdated curriculum that's designed to create workers, to create factory line workers. And it's never been updated. We don't teach the things that kids and all of us as adults really needed to learn: emotional intelligence, intuitive intelligence, spiritual intelligence, life skills, all of these things. And so I am on such a strong mission to support the children on the planet and the parents of the children on the planet that are fostering these beings that are going to be our future generation. So I'm super passionate about it, and just been, bringing this awareness to more parents of, is it possible to homeschool and work full time? Is it possible to, what does unschooling, what is self-directed curriculum, like what are these things that are raising these conscious, wise, and grounded children that feel safe in their nervous system? And so it's been a really wild and beautiful ride that I've been on.
That's awesome. So I think one of the things that you share that I'd like to highlight is your soul calling. So I think that's really important for everybody to recognize that your intuition is going to be your soul's calling. So I very much relate to you. I mean, I left a scholarship because I was like, this, like, whatever I'm learning is great, but it's not for me. Like, I'm going to learn through experience. And, even when I do have children, it's like I want to take them to other countries and let that educate them and really have, like you say, the experience of emotional intelligence and intuitive intelligence, which is very sensory based, right? It's very experiential. It's very in the body. And you think about children and even ourselves, right? Like, we naturally want to move. We don't want to sit forever. Like, the body's meant to move. Like, we're meant to communicate and connect with other people and really, again, have that experience. So I think it's beautiful just to shine some light on some new options and ways to actually bring out what's already innate within us. Because that is intuition, right? It's like opening up to the gift, to the intelligence, to the essence of your soul, and to have the courage to follow that no matter what anybody's saying. It's like when I first started my practice, people were like, what are you charging? Did you go to school? And I was like, actually, I left school, but like, come and have a session, we'll talk about it. They're like, whoa. So if you believe more in yourself than what other people might be telling you, and if you can support the children in your world to believe in themselves, that is the greatest gift you can do, because they already have the answers, because we all do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would love for you to share a little bit more about kind of softening into how you had the courage to follow your soul's calling and the discernment, right? Like, I could do this, but my soul says this, right? And those are really important, pivotal decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. So when that first big, fork in the road came on, when I was working in corporate America, and it was like deciding to leave and start my own business, which felt really, really scary, like letting go of my safety net, starting something brand new. I didn't have a choice, actually. Like, it was such a strong, weighted down, dense energy of me staying in corporate America that it was like, yes, this is scary, and I can't stay in something that feels like it's sucking my soul dry. So it was like pain of it that gave me the courage to make the jump and make the leap. And then with doing that, it's one of the biggest challenges that I've gone through in my life, and one of the biggest pivotal moments. And then with that, it was continuing to lean into the trust. One of my core values is freedom. And so I just knew that even though it felt really scary, there was a lightness energy, there was an excitement energy, there was something around it that allowed me to have the confidence of knowing I can do this, and also having people around me that were reflecting. Like I was with a partner that just was my biggest cheerleader, totally believed in me. And without his support, probably would have crawled back crying in a way. Like there's like very many moments where it's like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this, so but I made it through. And here I am 9 years later, almost a decade of having my business and my company and never turning back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the ways you know that you're following your intuition is when you feel light. There is a sense of lightness. There is a sense of freedom
Yeah.
because your soul in essence is infinite, right? So it's
Yeah.
constantly expanding. So one of the beautiful things about intuitive guidance is it will point you in, let's say, the highest direction because it knows a way, even if your mind doesn't. So that gut feeling will point you there and slowly, moment to moment, or sometimes fast, guide you.
Mm-hmm.
So just trust. I love that you bring up the word trust, that you are being guided by that higher intelligence of your intuition. And it always serves. When you're being guided by your intuition, you are in service to the greater good. And so trust that you will be provided for and you are serving. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So let's see. I'd love to talk a little bit more about the children. I have a program called The Intuitive Child that we've talked about, which is really about just nurturing that intuitive knowing and supporting our children to know, yes, you can trust your intuition, take action towards what you're feeling and what you're knowing. So, kind of relating that to what you're doing with the unschooling, I'd love for you to share what experiences are you seeing with the kids and the parents you're working with of their intuitions coming out in that process is really you're kind of giving them more freedom, right? Like you don't have to follow this structure and just like this is how it is, like open. So, what are you starting to see? How is the intuition developing in the people that you're working with during this unschooling process?
Yeah. So, when our parents first come into the program, there's a unwinding, or what's known in the industry as a term of deschooling, that happens. So there's this unwinding deschooling process where literally the body and the energetic system is unwinding from this conformed, structured, rigid type of school that they all have been indoctrinated into. And so what's beautiful is that it first starts with the parents unwinding and deschooling their selves, because the child is going to mirror the energy of the parent.
Mhm.
So it's incredible because as soon as these women, these moms, and we have dads too, but mostly moms, enter into our container and into our program, they already just start to undergo this process, which I see it as like an initiation and a next level of awakening. And so with this, it opens up space and allows the mom to get back in touch with trusting herself. It's a re-remembering, because we're all born as innate, sovereign, liberated, trusting, intuitive beings. But then there's the programming that gets placed on us, our environment, our all the things that are being mirrored, something that's distorted. So there's this undoing process. And then within that, there's the remembrance. So they're going through an experience of remembering. And then with that, that is activating the remembrance of their trust and their intuition, and allowing that to be trusted. And when there's a trust that comes in, then it almost gives permission for more intuitive wisdom to come through. And so I would say what we're noticing, and what I'm noticing, is that it's it's um it's a slow rollout of having many experiences of trusting, and then sometimes you'll retreat and then you'll question everything, and then you'll trust a little more, and then you'll retreat, and then you'll trust a little bit more. So they're in the process of like going from structured schoolwork to, wow, just give ourselves space and a break, allow the child to just be. And then how do we find this new, like regular, this new normal, this new balanced way? That's a very intuitive process, because your children come in completely open. They're completely open. They're completely intuitive. And so then as the parent is undoing, the parent is stepping more into the intuitive, they're tuning in. What do you want to learn? What's exciting to you? And then allowing the child and to lead with their innate intuitive wisdom. And so it's then this like dance that happens between the adult and the child. And it's almost like the child is reteaching the adults how to listen to their intuition. It's so beautiful. And the more that we as parents could just get out of the way, honestly, and trust the child. But that first starts with the parent, the mama, trusting herself. So it's a beautiful unfolding process. Can't be rushed, can't be sped up. It's natural, just like this innate natural intelligence of our intuition. And so it's going completely against the grain. It's going completely against the norm. So you feel out of the box. You feel like, am I doing something wrong? And that's where you get to listen to those intuitive nudges, whether, what type of, clairs that you have of hearing or feeling or sensing. As you continue down this path, more of that will open. So you'll feel more guided along the way.
Yeah. So what's coming to mind is, what is everything rooted in? So my sense of the school system, and I could be wrong, and I realize it's a bit judgmental, but I believe it's rooted in more like fear and control, whereas intuition is very much rooted in love and trust. So when you're in trust, you're softening into more love. You're creating the space to be more of who you are, which is an expression of love. And it's fascinating as you're talking, I'm just now thinking in this moment. So I had parents who were very supportive of my intuition. So when I called my mom in college and I'm like, hey, I feel like I'm a round peg in a square hole. Like my heart is telling me to leave. Like my gut is telling me to go. And she's like, great, follow your heart, honey. Like how many parents do that? Like most parents would probably be like, stay in school, da, 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 da. Like you have the scholarship, blah, blah, blah. So I realized like how significant that was, right? Because my intuition was naturally supported. And so I didn't necessarily feel like I was doing something wrong. And leaving college, like when I went to the dean, he was like, are you crazy? And I was like, nope. Or actually, I think I was like, maybe, but I don't really care, because I felt so good. I felt so free.
Yeah.
And went on to be very successful in business like a year later. Right. And so that's what I'm saying. Experience is huge, but that knowing, helping to, support your child in that, that they know the way. They know the way. And I love that you asked the question, like, what excites you? Like, what do you want to learn? And that's actually what I asked myself. I'm like, what does excite me? Like healing. Like I want to learn massage and NLP and therapy and all these things that like make me rehearsing, because that is my expression, right? Or so everybody has their own. So it's just kind of like listening to that, but making decisions from love and trust. And that it just really allows, like you talk about like the future generations, like, like imagine a world rooted in love. Like, how
Yeah.
cool would that be?
Yeah. Totally.
So cool. And I'm reflecting, I just saw, like, I think it was a couple days ago, you had an Instagram post about how you were pulled out of school in 7th grade. So I'd love to hear more about that. Like your parents were like, forget this, or what happened?
No, I moved from the city to the country at 13 and a half years old. First time I had a big move like that. I moved around the city somewhat, but not, to the country, like down a mile of dirt road, out on an island. It was definitely like different country living. And I got plopped into 7th grade, and I experienced a really horrific bullying experience that,
Bullying experience? Okay.
yeah. And it was very traumatic to my system, as I'm a highly, highly sensitive being. I'm the highest spectrum of high sensitivity that you can have. And then of course, most of our parents do the best that they can, but they don't have the knowledge on how to really hold presence and attunement and co-regulation. So when traumatic things come up, how that processes out of the body. And so it basically shut down, like my throat chakra shut down. I turned within, and my mom was like, okay, I think I need to pull you out of school. So she pulled me out, and I just did, seventh grade at home. I think it was 7th and 8th grade. I didn't go back to middle school. And then I was put on antidepressants because they didn't really know quite how to support me. And I was just feeling so much. And then in high school, I did alternative school. So I would go in 1 day a week to the alternative school that was in the high school. And then I would do all my schoolwork on my own. It was very self-sufficient. I could play the game very easily. I got my work done early. I graduated like a year and a half or half a year early. And then I did running start. So I did college classes as well that the high school would pay for. And I did all the fun things though. I did like art, PE, and language. And so, I share that because I've turned out more than okay without having schooling. Like I played the game, but imagine if I would have actually had more self-directed learning and different experiences and didn't have to go through that bullying experience. So that was a journey in itself of then having to heal and get off antidepressants and having to heal that trauma. And there's so much trauma that gets created in school because it's really not an attuned place for children. And so that was my experience. So I basically homeschooled, unschooled myself in a way and played the game. And it was so much better for my system. I'm so grateful that my parents took me out.
Hmm. Well, it's almost like it feels like it was like a pivotal point in your soul's journey of like giving you that experience so you could now teach this, right? So you could actually come from a place of experience, like, hey, like I've already done it, like I know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And then with the Liberated Child, so that program was created with my business partner, Lucas, whose children are now 18 and 20. So they're not children, they're adults now. And she, for, 20 years, homeschooled, unschooled, world schooled her children. She is like the most amazing mom and homeschooling guide, and has really given permission to others on what it's like to follow your own compass, to be okay with being outside of the box. Like she's allergic to anything that's inside of the box. And her son is doing incredible things, following his soul passion with graphic design and clothing design, and is so like self-sufficient and grounded in who he is. He went in to get an internship and they immediately hired him and is paying him a high amount hourly because they saw how great of emotional and communication skills and all these things that get developed in homeschooling that don't get developed as well in regular school. And then her daughter has a what do you call it? Where she is making meals for others, like her own like chef business in a way. And she's making these amazing, yummy vegan meals. And she has a whole clientele, and she delivers these meals once a week and is making $30 an hour at 17 years old, or I think she's 18 now. And it's just incredible. And they're doing what they love. She's going away to be on a farm and to do cooking and growing food and doing these things over the summer and cultivating more of her skills. And they're just happy kids. Like, how do we raise happy kids that just know what they want? Because if you think about it, when you're in school and you're getting all this curriculum pushed down on you, and you're not really able to really pursue exactly what lights you up, and then suddenly you're made to choose something to go to college for, but you have no idea what you are really into. So then parents are spending thousands and hundreds of thousands on schooling and racking up these student bills for then them to get a degree in something where often the young adult doesn't even want to do that. And they're like, wait, I got into this and I don't even like this, and then goes into something totally different. That is rampant on our planet. And it's because it stems back to the child not having that freedom and that sovereignty to get curious, to be allowed to go into the gifts. There was one story I heard about a mom who just allowed her son to play with He wanted everything to do with Legos. And she's like, okay, like, I'm just going to let him do this. And like, now to this day, he builds these intricate, like, gaming and doing all this stuff that's so high level and so cool. And like he has a great life and pays well. And he's so lit up by it. And it's all because the mom let him just do his thing and build what he wanted to build with Legos.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. I'm curious, how you would advise somebody to heal trauma, because I know a lot of people have experienced that, right? So the intuition can guide you out of that. I mean, I know I've done that before, so I know there's a way, but I'm curious how you're teaching kids and yourself to move from that place of, wow, that was really traumatizing, and now I'm going to use my intuition to actually heal that trauma and create a life I love, which is what this whole show is about. So I would love for you to kind of share maybe some steps or a process that you used or teach for people to kind of come out of that into more of their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really, really great question. So, what I would say with that is, like, the first step is awareness. So being aware of the emotions, being aware of the trauma, being aware of what's coming up. Because once you have the awareness, then there's that intuitive and natural intelligence that can step in and support, which then can guide someone to connect with the right person or the right modality or the right situation that's going to help to move the trauma through. So that can be supportive as the very first step. The second step is being with the trauma and being able to allow the emotions and energy that's associated with the trauma to move through the body and out of the system. And that's not something that we do and teach in the liberated child. So that's usually when the mamas come in and things may be coming up, then we support with our community and sometimes we're hosting Q&A calls and sometimes we're not. But at that point, it's giving them guidance on how to connect with the right healer, the right support with that. Ina is holding a lot of space and doing that. She's booked out with private clients, so she's not doing that at this moment. So we're including other ways and looking at other modalities to bring in of supporting with the trauma piece because it is so rampant. But for right now, we're just supporting with the conscious unschooling. And then we have a course, it's the Conscious Parenting Retreat. And in that, we're actually taking them through shamanic channeled activations that's helping them to release some of that in their body. And they get to listen to these however many times. And we have some really awesome ones, like ones around connecting to your child's soul and what they're here to learn. Other ones are getting rid of the guilt and moving through that piece. And then the other ones are like understanding Also, like the drama triangle. So where you at as far as the rescuer, perpetrator, martyr, things of those natures, to bring that awareness to help these things move through. Some of the work that I feel like is the most impactful is doing somatic healing. And that's kind of work that I've been doing, and it allowed me to heal from being on antidepressants. So somatic healing is really allowing the trauma to move through the body in a place where you have connection with another's nervous system that is attuned and stable and safe. And they can hold that open presence and allow that to move through the body in a naturally intelligent way. So I'm happy if anybody has questions or want guidance on somatic healing resources. But that's one of my favorite modalities. And then we do teach others. Like we have one module that's teaching EFT. So tapping can be really powerful of moving through things as well. So there's like a variety of things that we include there. And if you're wanting to go like the next level, super deep of somatic healing, that's definitely a next level that can be great and supportive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the easiest ways to heal trauma is to become aware of what you need or what your child needs. So to actually ask, I use the first chakra, which is the basis of foundation of safety and love. So when you're feeling traumatized, you're feeling unsafe. So the first question to ask is, what do I need or what does my child need to feel safe?
Right.
Ask that.
Absolutely.
And that will start to bring the nervous system back into balance. And I've never heard before somatic healing like that, but it makes sense that if you bring in a loving, stable presence and you actually kind of merge or feel that energy, naturally, we all attune to each other. So when you bring in that safety and that presence of somebody else, you then feel safe, right? That's what we do as coaches or healers. And
yes,
we're holding that space. And then ultimately, your intuition is doing that for you. It's
mm-hmm.
your inner compass, like we talked about earlier, pointing you in that direction. But that space is then held, and the emotions, those are kind of like a guide, right? Like I feel upset. Okay, why do you feel upset? It's telling me something. The message is this. Okay, so my intuition is telling me to move away from this person. All right, got it, right? So it's like emotions as messengers. And then your intuition saying, okay, now we're going to go here because this feels better. This feels lighter.
Right.
This feels freer. So,
yeah, there's a process that I teach in the liberated child where it's called a presence process. So it's teaching the parent how to sit in a place of presence. So heart is open, attuned to the child, and allowing the child. So let's say the child's super upset and you're like not understanding like what's going on, or you kind of understand what's going on, but they're over like upset about something, or maybe they're not that upset at all. Like this can be any spectrum of upset and emotional disarray. It's slowing down and it's tuning in and it's holding that open, safe presence space for them to be able to move through anything that it is that they need to move through. And that's called attunement. And then that also creates co-regulation. So when we also have intuitive children that are highly sensitive, like a lot of them that are coming onto the planet right now are 100% new energy. They're coming in at a higher frequency level, and they have an intuitive antenna that is open at all times. And so something can be bothering your child that they don't know what the feelings are. Could be something that they're picking up collectively from school, from home, other people's emotions. And so by doing these presence processes and asking questions, but holding open space with no judgment for everything to be felt, you can allow that intuitive antenna to be honed in and to understand where they might be picking up energy from and where they might be feeling things, and then empowering them to know when something isn't theirs to process, and helping them to have that other nervous system to be able to release that. And that can look through the child doing anything from screaming to yelling to moving, to just crying, and slowing down and being in that open space. And also being, vulnerable with the child if you're getting triggered by the child as well. So the parent is also then in a, oh my God, like there's a lot of energy being open. Like, I'm wanting to hold space for you. I'm wanting to be there, but I'm going through my own process at the moment right now. So be patient with me. And then having that open communication, because then the child just learns so much from the mom saying, I'm trying to be here for you. Give me some patience here. I'm working. And then the child feels even safer because of what was named. So those are a few things that I teach in, I have a bonus raising an empowered empathic child that I teach the presence process. And it's like, if a parent can get that down and get the attunement piece down, it's like key.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think it's the awareness. So the question is like, what's true for you, right? So you can feel all this other, could possibly feel like chaos because you're picking up possibly somebody else's energy. Yeah, the energy of the planet, the collective, whatever. And then to actually attune to and feel, okay, well, what is true for me? And actually to help people experience what is true for you. Because sometimes like you don't even know. I know for me, I'm like, what is true? And one of the easiest ways you can actually do is like say your name. Like be like, my name is Abby. Okay, that's true. My name is Devani. Nope. Like my gut's like, nope. So like we know our system, we can train our system to then give us feedback. This is true for me. Okay. Oh, that was somebody else's thought. All right, I can let that go. What is true for me? Do I want to hang out with this person? Yes or no, right? So it's just kind of like noticing and, kind of feeling your internal yes and your internal no, and then honoring that, right? And of course, the child's.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
Energy. It really is.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Is there anything else you want to share about like purpose and intuition? Like, I guess I just feel anything else to support taking those next steps forward on your soul's path, right? So everybody has that sense of knowing I can do this and what is my next step.
Yeah.
It's a big question, I know.
Yeah, it is a big question. I mean, the first thing that comes to me is taking time for space for meditation. Meditation and journaling has been really supportive for me for allowing things to flow through, finding the space and the calmness in the system, allowing the space so the intuition can come through, because, we live in this society, this culture where we're just go, 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 do, and it doesn't permission and highlight and award the slowness and the space. And when we slow down and give space, we can listen to the messages and listen to the guidance. And meditating also allows us to get out of the ordinary mind and get in more into the awakened mind and the spacious mind. And then it's really, really, really important to have other sisters that can help reflect, and be there for support, be there to listen, be there to mirror. And I believe that, circling, sister circles and having that sistership, and women joining together with their wombs is a big part in healing the planet and allowing us to trust ourselves deeper by that sistership that we surround ourselves with.
Yeah. And I think it's that presence of love. So whether it's sisters, or brothers or, partners or whatever, is just community, right? So to really feel held. And the other thing is validation. So I feel like, a lot of that is being validated for what you feel, helping your child or the children, be validated. I know for me, when I was a kid, I was seeing like angels on the other side, like early on, and I
Yeah.
didn't really say much about it. It didn't really freak me out. I just noticed. But I remember I told my mom, I was in the laundry room. I think I was like 8 years old, and I was like, "Mom, like I feel like I'm holding the earth and it's holding me at the same time. Is this God?" And she was like, "Okay, honey, like whatever, like again, supportive." So I think if we have that space of love and that both we and others are validated in that, it strengthens the intuition. It makes us feel more confident. It makes us feel like we can trust ourselves. And of course, then the children can trust themselves because you're modeling that and you're also providing that space.
Right.
Um, so I think really kind of ask yourself, how can I create that in my life right now? How can I create more space of this unconditional love and this validation for my intuition, for my child's intuition, for the other children and people in general in my
Yeah.
life, to honor that. Um, and, really to know it's the highest wisdom, like we talked about earlier, because sometimes I feel like you can probably relate to this, Devani. Like we get intuitive guidance, we're like, oh man, maybe I don't really want to know that, but I know it's the truth, right? Like it's like really coming into radical acceptance of like, yeah, all right, this is what it is. Now let's move through this and just find the tools and the resources to now do that. And rise up to that next level of leadership as adults, and then to teach our children to do that by their example too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Mm-hmm.
Super cool stuff. I'm excited. So, I know you have a show coming up, a summit, and I'm going to be on it. So, let's talk a little bit about that and how people can register for that. If there's a link where they can go, or what you'd like to share.
Yeah, so it's the Conscious Homeschooling Unschooling Summit, and I have an incredible lineup of experts and homeschooling moms and alternative education teachers and all sorts. So if you are a parent, a mom or dad that's curious, or you already know that you want to homeschool this next year, but you're wanting to pave a path that works for your family. You're wanting to raise your children to be happy and liberated and free and connected to their soul purpose and connected to their intuition. Then you're going to love the speakers, because it's going to really help you to understand and to give you a map and all those things. It starts on July 14th. So I'm really excited about that. The page isn't fully ready yet. It should be ready by the end of the week. So I can definitely provide a link for that when it is ready, and we can open the gates for that. So the best thing would be to follow me, to follow the page, The Liberated Child, on Instagram, Facebook. You can also follow me, Devani Freeman, and you will stay in the loop. We also have a Facebook group. That's probably the best thing to join right now, the Conscious Homeschooling Community. So I can leave a link for that, or you can search the Conscious Homeschooling Community on Facebook, and then you'll be looped in on the link on to sign up for when it starts.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be amazing. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share? We probably have about 10 minutes left. Is there any other just path you want to take us on, or any more information you want to share about intuition, children, yourself, just whatever comes to you?
Yeah. I just want to share that, as a mom, I just want to remind all the moms that are listening to this, or moms to be, or those that desire to be a mom, that the child's soul chooses the parents that it wants to come down and be with. So I just want to remind all the parents, moms to be, and all of those listening, that whatever you call in, your child chose that, and your child chose you. and that there's no messing it up because the child knows exactly what they're signing up for.
Totally.
And we could just like take a breath of like, I can't mess this up. I can't mess this up. Like the child already knows exactly. One of the guests on this summit, Dr. Diane or Dr. Edith Chan, who is a Chinese medicine doctor, and she also is writing a book, Luminous Kids, and her 6-year-old said, "Mom, like I picked you on a screen. I scrolled through and he's so clear on like being on the other side and all these memories and knows where he came from. He's like, he even saw the virus before it came and knew how long it was going to be here for. Like these children are like know that they're coming in the planet at this time. And we all have these memories within us too, but if they're not allowed to be expressed, we forget them or we think that it's imagination. So I just want to let you know and permission you that you're doing an incredible job. You're doing an incredible job. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I have so much trauma, or oh my gosh, I'm so far from this, or how do I step into this? And like, just don't beat yourself up. Like, love yourself, love where you're at in the journey, love that you have a heart that can love. And that's the biggest, most important thing you can do. You can mess up all the rest, but you're not going to mess it up if you have an open, unconditional heart. Like, that is one thing that I am so blessed with, that I had a mom that loved me unconditionally, that saw me unconditionally. It sounds like you had the same experience as well, Abby. And even though there are times where, oh my gosh, I can remember making my mom cry when I was younger and being bratty and like all the horrible things that we do as we're trying to process our emotions, there was still a love that was never turned away from me. And if you can just do that one piece, you got this. Got this. You got this.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Unconditional love. So
yeah.
Sometimes it's just, you don't even want to say anything because you can just feel the presence. So
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Well, this has been amazing. And I invite everybody to go to www.lifeforceconnection.com and also follow us on Instagram there. And we do these shows every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And make sure to follow Devani and her work, and really just trust your intuition, trust, your child, the children, what they're telling you, as we all just open up to greater and greater.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.